Okay, now we go on to the third part of our Unit Zero, the prologue, where we're going to focus on the agricultural revolution. So this one's going to be a little bit more complex as we go through. Now, as I told you in the past two videos, what we're looking at in this entire time period is why did early humans develop new processes to survive and prosper in the time period 10,000 to 12,000? And how did these new processes affect human life? So, in the last video about hunting and gathering, humans did develop governments, they did develop economics, they did develop technology, but it leads to a very simple and migratory life that they did survive and prosper. But, as when you look at, today's type of life, okay, it's not very advanced. Well, in this video, we're focusing on something known as the agricultural revolution. And we're going to do it a little bit different. So, our main claim is that due to changes in the climate, humans were forced to learn how to control their food supply. This led to new processes that they used to survive and prosper. Let me go ahead and explain what I'm talking about. Whenever we do a lesson like this, we're working with the skill of causation. And this is a graphic representative of how to train your brain to think in terms of causation. So you have a triangle, an explosion, and a triangle. The first triangle on your left is going to represent the causes. Now, causes, and notice that it's plural, are simply presented as a series of events or developments that are going to lead to the event. So you want to be thinking like A happened, which led to B, which led to C, and then D occurred, creating the new event. The event always goes in the middle, and the event in this case is going to be the agricultural revolution. More on that in just a second. Now, when we talk about effects, because remember, causation is cause and effect, we can divide the effects into two different categories. First off, we have immediate effects, things that take place right after the event, and then long term, usually focused on how they change the global processes. So, to put it in context, when you talk about the causes of the agricultural revolution, basically we have, first of all, the end of the Ice Age. As your book said, agriculture began when the earth warmed up. And at the end of the ice ages, the overall global temperature of many environments slowly began to rise. Well, this is going to lead to a change in the growing cycle of plants and in animal life. So notice something here. We have a development, and then this is going to lead to another development. And what I mean by growing cycles is that we know that plants do grow in the winter. But as we get to the spring, those winter plants die off and are replaced with new plants. Now, what this has for early humanity is, remember, they were hunting and gathering. So they had come to depend upon the different plants that grew naturally within their environment. Unfortunately, those plants are now gone and they've been replaced with other plants, which we'll get to in a second. Also, animals, as the weather gets warmer, they begin to lose a lot of weight. They lose a lot of fat and their muscles become much leaner. All in all, when we go to hunting and gathering humanity, the things that gave them calories, the calories needed to survive, the plants and the animals were no longer there. Now, what they were replaced with is a new type of plant that has many, many, many seeds, big seeds, seeds that you can take and put in the ground and grow more plants. So, because women were the ones that gathered, they began to observe how basic things work, and they learned that if you plant seeds, you can cultivate food. Also, men began to domesticate or bring certain animals under their control. The bottom line is this: we've gone from a humanity that depended upon what grew wild to a humanity that could now control their food supply. And that's exactly what the agricultural revolution is. It's when humanity learned to control their food supply. So when we look at the effects and overall the processes, the number one and the most immediate effect was that humanity could now settle in one place. They did not have to hunt and gather anymore. This is going to lead to new agriculture and living technology. You can see in these pictures that you see plows, you see permanent houses, you see, plants put in rows. You see new tools that were designed, okay, around agriculture. So you see brand new technology, which is going to lead to population growth. Now, some other stuff as we kind of look at the long-term events is we begin to see expanded government. People now have possessions, they have houses which need to be protected by laws. People could now spend time developing other things, such as metalworking technology, and they could make clothes. So, this is going to lead to the specialization that you read about. Culturally, animism remains, but now gods don't represent every living thing. The gods are going to represent features in their environment that help plants grow. Economics, we still have trade between settled people and non-settled people. And because we have possessions and because we have specialization, jobs other than agriculture that include skills, we begin to see a greater social hierarchy of social classes, which is going to be based on the skills that people have. Gender roles become more patriarchal, more male dominated, and we still don't have a lot of interaction between different ethnicities. So when we kind of sum it up in terms of this, the first cause is going to be the climate change. Then this is going to lead to changes in plants and animals and the development of seed plants. So women who were the hunters and the gatherers, they basically began to learn how to farm. So the agricultural revolution defined is when humanity learned how to control their food supply. And they did this through domesticating food, plants, bringing them under control, and certain animals. So the immediate effect would be settlement, new technology, and population growth. But the long term would be the development within each piece. Government, because people have possessions. Okay? More technology. Scientific information about how to grow plants. Culture with the religious change, with gods becoming, helpers in the agricultural cycle. Specialization in trade and economics. And finally, a hierarchy social structure. So this is a pretty significant change. Now, in the next part of our unit, we're going to look how some areas used this idea and became cities.